Welcome to WO50, Women Over 50 in Body, Wisdom, and Wellness.
Hello, everybody. Hello, my BFF. I'm here. Hi, honey. I'm here with my BFF, Eddi, and my name is Corrine. And today we are talking about what lies beyond the ego, a conversation around ego, personality, and true nature. Yeah, this is a hot topic.
I had my ego poked a few times, but it was good. I talked my way out of it, and learned not to interrupt. I know what is part of my ego now and what isn't, but we've been working on that a long time, haven't we?
Yeah, we learned that the ego is not a bad thing. We all have one, and the definition of it and what our personality, where it lies in there, what awareness is. And I thought it was, I love it. It's my favorite topic. So I think
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think there's lots of good stuff in here. So we hope you enjoy it. Hello, my BFF.
Hello. How's my BFF doing today?
I am so good. I'm so good. You're looking like all really, you said it's raspberry color and your hair looks great and your shirt matches your flower.
Oh, my shirt matches my snooze. Your hair looks really nice. It's really curly.
It's very curly today. For those of you who are listening only, my hair looks like Nina Blackwood from MTV in the 80s, if anybody remembers that.
Yeah, she just aged herself. Good thing this is WO50.
In the 80s, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I have no ego about my age.
Oh, wow. Segueing right in. I almost said it. I'm like, I almost said, so is your hair part of your personality? Does it make you who you are? What is the ego? We're going to have a great conversation about this, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite topics today is what lies beyond the ego, a conversation around ego, personality, and true nature. What the heck are all those words, Eddi?
Oh, there are lots of words. When I read them now, I think back to like 30 years ago where they all were the same to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, ego is your personality. Everybody has one. It's your true nature. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and I think I used to think that ego was always a bad thing, and that ego was when somebody was acting awful, right?
Yes, and we'd say, I don't have an ego.
Yeah,
but we
have
do.
to
It
have an ego.
functions. Yeah, it functions as part of our personality.
Yeah, exactly.
It's why I want to wear raspberry and why you want your hair curly and part of it.
Well, it is separation, like in a Leia language.
Yes.
It allows you to experience yourself as yourself, right? And so I love Adyashanti's definition of ego, which is it's just all the ideas and thoughts you have about yourself. And I would say even the world too. It's like everything that's not love, everything that's not present moment is all ego. And so, and it's not bad because, it's again, what allows us to experience the world as a separate, I've experienced myself as Corrine with a certain personality. You're Eddi as a certain personality. We're BFFs for many years, but it's the identification. And if you only know the ego, which we all know people who don't know anything else, that they believe they are their thoughts, they believe they are their roles, and they believe they're very much identify with their status in life financially or what they do for a living
and part of that whole falling away of ego is like when we start to become aware that that's even happening. We go, oh, I used to like that kind of car, or I used to like to wear that, or we start taking inventory of how we are in the world, how we are. Are we more mindful? Are we becoming more aware? And I think as we get older, we start to do that. Don't you think? We start to.
One would hope so, but I don't think it's a natural. I think it lends itself more as we get older because we have been on the planet longer, and for the most people, like most people you see, want to simplify in their life, maybe even if they're never even know about this journey. But I want to back up for just a second because you said the ego falls away, and that's not what happens. What happens is the identification the identification with the ego falls away. So we're
Yes.
not looking to dissolve the ego. First of all, you can't make that happen anyway.
Yes, exactly.
But what
Yeah.
you can become aware of is that when you were identified with the car, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with driving
Mm-hmm.
the car of your dreams. Even I have the best car I've ever driven. I love Lulu so much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if I lost her tomorrow, it would be fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I might be sad for a second or something because
Yeah.
I've my little Mini Cooper Countryman that I worked really hard for, and she's cute every time I get in her. I think she's really cute. So it's not about being materialistic or anything. It's about how you identify with it.
True. Yes. Yes. It's, yeah, validating yourself.
Yeah, exactly. The need to
Yeah.
validate yourself. So it's like
Yeah.
you and I and Alea and I talk about this too. It's like she when we'll get on Zoom together and she's like, we're commenting on our hair just like you and I do too. We're commenting about our hair, like she changes hair color so often and she wears makeup and and she was a model when she was younger too. And so it's like there's nothing wrong with liking makeup, and Eddie and I, love good skincare and all kinds of stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong. It's if it's taken away from you or not available, you suffer kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
your attachments to it.
Yes, that's right.
Your
Yes.
attachments to your vitamin C serum.
Yeah. Until it's gone. And then you go, okay, well, there'll be something else. There'll be something else. It's not, yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like discussing ego and also our personality and how that even starts to evolve. Like we start to, my God, change in front of ourselves as we start to become more authentic and more, um, I don't know, we start to just look deeper and go, is that really part of who I am? Is my work and, a lot of times people before they retire, they often identify with their job. And when they retire,
Absolutely.
they don't know who they are without their
Absolutely.
label, right?
And that's a
Which,
beautiful process of
yes,
noticing what your attachment is and what I was identified with working with Deepak Chopra for many years,
yes,
many
yes.
years.
Yes. And we do it too with music. We often think, we get into music and we think, okay, this is really good. And we start I'm just going back to how I was in my 20s and what was ego led and ego driven and then what stopped being that because it didn't feel right. And I just
Yeah.
knew as I got into
Yeah.
medicine and, the holistic, working with people, serving, I could feel, I didn't know it was ego kind
Right.
of not falling away, but softening. That's the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
Softening into myself. And I see that with a lot of people. And then I see it with other people that aren't softening. They're still stuck in and driven and, yeah, there is even no awareness around the connection to nature or, how it's just thought. It's
Yeah.
just amazing to watch it all kind of play out. So when I look at that whole dialogue inside myself fall away, we can only do it individually. We can only do it in our own time, in our own space,
That's right.
with what we're seeking, with what we're reading, with what we're listening to, what we let fall away that's toxic, and we start going, and even just recognizing that some of that stuff's toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Because some years go by and we don't recognize some of the stuff we're doing or acting or saying, even interrupting people.
Yeah.
There's
They
a
use
nicer way,
Yeah,
right?
well, that they say that's ego. Like they say the language of the ego is, and it's just like a general rule. So you can kind of check yourself. But if you're the kind of person that interrupts quite a bit, which I certainly have done in the past, and
Me too.
Eddie has too, and it is like you're trying to get your word in, and you're trying to, but it is egoic because you're trying to get you in there,
And how
right?
cute that you can recognize it, that we can go, oh my God, I remember being that way. I mean, we know each other all this time, so we can reflect, really go back and go, oh, do you remember when I walked in and you're trying to tell me something, but my story felt more important? And then we stop, it's like, why even talk? It's like, my story's not more important than yours. Like, what the heck was I doing? And I get out in the car and go, God, what was I doing? Like gee, so thank goodness I was able to catch myself instead of just being that bulldozer and doing it all the time.
Well, we do it until we don't do it anymore. And then once we see
Exactly.
it, it's like anything in life. Once we see clearly, it's like, how did I not see clearly? But we don't, when we know better, we do better. And, and
Mhm.
I didn't know back then either. And, you were at a time in your life where you were just had to, and I'll talk about me in a second because I've been through there too, but you were at a time, the time you're talking about is like, where you needed to tell your story a lot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was a good friend and I missed my friend. I only saw you once a year at that point when you moved back
Hmm.
to Newfoundland, and I didn't care hearing your story 25 times. I didn't care, you know. But it was such a difference when we started to be with each other differently and more authentically and more in our true nature, and
Hmm.
gently telling each other when we could see, because it is a mirror. Like I could only
Yeah.
see myself doing it because I would see you doing it. Or,
Hmm.
like when we see people, as you said, being stuck, I would say more they're identified with their ego and their thoughts. And I'm at the point in my life now where I don't have judgment or it's like that's even if they never realize that their true nature and they're always in ego, like everybody's journey, I honor everybody's
Hmm.
journey. And if
Yeah.
you're listening to this podcast, you're probably most likely interested in what we're saying, and
Exactly.
on this journey, but we all have people in our lives that are not, and they're
That's
not,
right.
but the way I just feel it is like they're there to help me see more clearly because that's what I don't want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great that we are like doing this podcast because really it helps me and you dig deeper. And then I had a gal say to me, I loved listening to your podcast. And she just listened to the one we just did. And I listened to it again today and I'm like, wow, that was really good. The planning and allowing one. And I'm like, are you still enjoying it? She goes, oh my God, I love it. I listen in and right when I think I've heard everything, you talk about something else and then there's something new. And I'm like, that's a 40, almost 40 years of friendship that
Yeah,
it's endless what we can talk about. Like
it is. Yeah, it is.
especially when it's sharing this kind of awareness. It's not just talking from ego state. It's more,
Mhm.
how are we growing? What are we doing? What's fallen away? And if I'm discussing something or you are, the input is so much fresher. Like it's so much,
Mhm.
it feels brighter. It feels, and that's what, you know, sharing this, what I want people to feel is what lies beyond the ego. There's so much because it's hugely awareness.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's awareness. It's that we're not separate, that we're interconnected. It's, it lies beyond the ego. And yes, the ego's present, but it's so funny when we can feel it and look at it and laugh at ourselves sometimes too.
Yeah, it's like so yeah, okay, so we've spent a good probably 10 minutes talking about what ego is.
Yeah.
So, and we can talk about awareness, then we can talk about personality, but because personality and ego are somewhat related, but not necessarily. And so it's like it's awareness is, of course, my favorite topic.
Of course. It is.
And
It's
it's
her number one.
yeah, but I want to talk about too is how the average person, and we're average, how we can, without even knowing these language, when we experience it, is when you're laughing uncontrollably.
Hmm. Like
There's
like
no
when we had a
thought.
chat. Like when we had a chat yesterday and we laughed and we laughed and we laughed. And I don't even
Yes,
remember what that was.
I
Now
have
we
no
laughed so
idea.
hard.
Yeah, exactly. So when you laugh, there's no, or when you feel deep gratitude. It's kind of like, in yoga, sounds funny to jump to this, but when I'm teaching yoga, and if somebody has a cramp, the best way to get rid of a cramp, which my students laugh about this, is I go and I pinch the person really hard in another area. And because our nervous system can't focus on two pains, intense pains at the same time. So 99% of the time, the cramp will go away. And now my students know me enough. I'm like, is it okay if I pinch you? But I used to just branch on them, and cramps are very uncomfortable. So after we laugh, they're like, oh yeah, thank you. And there's a few people that don't like it, but it's kind of the same kind of thing with gratitude and with laughing and with being in nature. If you're like when you're fully present in the moment, that, when you're laughing, when you're deeply grateful, when you're looking to the eyes of a baby or your child, your grandchild, um, or if you are watching TV with, like present moment war scenes, anything that your mind sort of stops, there's nothing else, there's no ego in there because it's just pure experience, present moment. So awareness, even though it's always there, it's kind of like they can be known as like the blue sky is always there, but the clouds might come and we don't see the blue sky. Blue sky is always there. That's our awareness. It's our screen of consciousness. It could also be like the walls in the room. The walls in your room don't care what color the walls are. It doesn't care if a person's inside or outside. Your awareness is there wherever you go. But that's harder for people to get. It's like when I talk about it, you can get like a sense of it, maybe almost like someone's shampoo that you smell as they walk by. It's like, oh, I think I get it, but you don't quite get it. So if you're not following me, I totally understand that. And I apologize because that's my experience. I have to remember I've doing this 40 years now, meditating, did a 30-day silent retreat, and this has been my life. Like I had Kathy text me today, our good friend Kathy, who has been going through some stuff, and her and Deborah became texting buddies last week after yoga because they were both sort of going through the same things at work. So they've been supporting each other. And because you and I have been at this a very long time. So when we talk about it on the podcast, we are still discovering new things and new language, but this is sort of our lane, right? Yeah. But other people, when they first got on it, it's like you need that support. That's why we have like-minded communities that we enjoy, or go on a retreat, or go to a yoga class, or or listen to a podcast that you like, or a show that supports that, because we've had a ways of being. Some of us, whether we're 50 or 60 or whatever, how old we are, we have ways of looking at the world that's been slightly affected by our experiences. But when we look at really deepening and changing even the way we look at things, that's some deep excavation. Yeah. So be patient with yourself. And just know that, like I was thrilled that, Kathy texted me and she goes, oh, I found this this course on Insight Timer to help anxiety in the workplace. And she sent me a link, and I'm like, that's wonderful. And it's all the same stuff that we talk about all the time, but it's from somebody different saying it in a different way. Exactly. And that's how you and I have gotten it. I mean, how many courses have you taken on health and wellness?
Oh, so
gazillion.
Many. Gazillion, and so many. And it's like, how many ways do you have to say, what you eat is what fuels you? And now there's all this fresh stuff. I mean, I heard Dr. Mark Hyman going into talk to Senate today about how important it is for food to be healthy in the schools, and it's driving our sickness industry. And I listening in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this should not even be having to be fought. That we're wanting better food, we're wanting better conditions, we want better environment, but again, we also want to think better thoughts, and that's your lane, the state of awareness, mindfulness, meditation. I offer that up to people too, and they come in, and I'm sharing apps, and they're introducing me to new apps. And how many ways can you say, eat clean, eat your vegetables, sleep, meditate, stay in your lane, learn, even seeking another app or a literature or something to read that brings them closer and closer and closer to the understanding of maybe even an egoless state, which, is even deeper. That deep dive, that inquiry, because so many people are on different levels. They have a different type of seeking or research or way of learning, where it's visual or auditory or right through an ebook or a book. So yeah. So it's just that continue to keep on keeping on with learning.
Yeah, I mean, that's us, right? That's you and I. And some people aren't like that. But what I have experienced is by the time somebody comes to see me, By the time somebody comes to see you, they're paying money to get our help, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we do have a lot of free stuff too, but when it's like we do it for a living, then they are more open, because it does take, like I said, that's why it's excavation. It's a huge amount of effort to like change. You see it in your office every day to help people. Even though you
Yeah.
say it every day, people only can hear it from the ears that they're hearing from, and their experience in their life. And it's all perfect. Like wherever you're at in your life is where you're supposed to be. And it's perfect because you're there. There's no other story to it.
Yeah.
It's all about present moment, and being able to live your life with less Santa bag full of, fears, judgments, expectations, worries, but also not discounting those life experiences, because all of those things I just mentioned, they can show up in the present moment with different experiences. But what happens is we instead of just moving through things and moving on to the next thing, we accumulate. It's
Mm-hmm.
just like the toxins in our body with the foods that we can eat, the bad foods we can eat. We accumulate the hurt feelings, emotions, like we had talked about with Alea, right? All these different things that accumulate. And then we bring that into a conversation instead of coming in clean, with love. It's like
Mm-hmm.
every moment is new. And so there's so many different ways to talk about that and to understand that. And it certainly has, unfolded for me over 40 years, and uh so if I look back, I feel like it's been really slow, but also just perfect for my awakening. So
Yeah.
awareness is present moment spontaneity. It's like inspiration, inspire, in spirit. So when you're creating a new color for your kitchen, or a new way of talking to your children, or a song, or a garden, like you're inspired, that is awareness and present moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many books on that.
Yeah,
Just
Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now.
Power of Now. And every book is stay present, stay in the moment. As soon as we
Mm.
jump to the future, we've gone out of the moment. Go back to the past, we've gone out of the moment. It's lovely when we start like I don't know, dismantling like our self-image of who we think we are, that ego, that personality, and come back into the moment and go, hmm, I don't like that anymore. That doesn't feel good.
Yeah, so some
Okay.
of it's like you said earlier, some of it just rubs sort of, it's like an erosion process. So you're just softening around things, and the
Like you said,
personality,
excavation.
yeah, its personality can be this erosion. And others
Hmm.
are more conscious, where you're like, I don't want to be that way anymore. I don't want to be that person who interrupts people all the time and is always has to be my story, and you just stop doing it even consciously. But then the more you do that, the more it'll just happen automatically as well.
Yeah. And also, this is a beautiful time in our lives where, after 50 is where we can actually sit back for a little bit and pause and just reflect on all of it, right? It's just everything from what we're wearing to how we look to what we're doing with our inner world, our practices of self-awareness or mindfulness, right? Of what we're eating, of just a nice inventory of all that. And even playing around with defining within yourself what ego is, what personality, what true nature, work on those words even to just, I don't know, just
What are they for
let them
you?
sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what
What
are
are
they
they
for
for
you?
you? Mm-hmm.
What do they mean? What does it, in our journey of do we live from ego? Do we not make a decision because that might not be what someone is expecting, and oh, I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't show up with that. No, that might hurt that person's feeling. We just act sometimes not from our authentic self, not from because when our really good friends know our true nature and something is said and it wasn't said in the way we intended, they might come back with, did you mean to say it this way? Because this is how I took it. But when we don't do that, we're left with the tape playing of what we think happened. And that's what gets us in trouble. And that's where ego takes over and starts, cutting ourselves down, cutting, the person down, and it's
Yeah, it's
uncomfortable.
the mashed potatoes. It's the eating you eat mashed potatoes once, but then you pay for it every single day. That's when you're beating yourself up about something, or you're upset with somebody and you're reliving it in your head. There, you're not sharing it with them, and because yeah, we all have a different perspective and different eyes, and you cannot walk in another man's shoes.
No,
And
no.
some of us have, you know, bad days where we have a more of a biting tongue, and the
Mhm.
way somebody hears it, we might not be aware of at all, and we didn't even mean it that way. I mean, there's so much of that that happens. And
Oh, yeah.
so,
There's such a big backstory going on. I
mhm,
have no clue what's happened in your day, nor you in mine,
mhm,
till we share it. But,
mhm.
you know, people sometimes have to cut you off in traffic and then we get upset, or somebody takes the last apple on the shelf and you're like, what? Yeah, it's
Or eats the
oh.
bag of macadamia nuts you have tucked away.
To feed their ego. No, actually, that's to feed their microbiome, I think. Yeah.
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 So your person, so we've got the ego, which is all the thoughts and ideas you have about yourself. It's basically everything that's not present moment, not love. That's really a good way to define it. And
Yeah,
you can
that's beautiful.
dive into that for a while. But you really
Absolutely.
can't you can become aware of it. So that's where awareness comes in. So you've got your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions. You wouldn't be able to be aware of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions if you didn't have awareness. If you think about that, there's the world, then there's you, then there's your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And then there's awareness. There has to, otherwise, you wouldn't be aware of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions if there wasn't awareness there.
And how interconnected is that? Totally. It's
It,
inseparable.
yeah, it's inseparable and part of you. And yet, what happens is because everything is shiny in the world and in the ego, it's all, so it's more, and we've paid much more attention to it than we have our awareness. So it's
Mhm.
all equally important and it is all interconnected. And yet, what's happened is we become identified with the shiny things, with the outside world, with our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And then that deeper level of awareness that's just as much a part of us as everything else, people don't forget that it even exists. And
Mhm.
that's when pain is. And so personality is a part of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It's part of your conditioning, could be also part of what you were born with. Like there
Mhm.
are studies done, like it's not, there's nature versus nurture, but there's a lot of stuff that we're born with, um that no matter how much you're nurtured, you still go through stuff, and we don't, that's the
Mhm.
mystery of it. We don't really know how and why that is. I
No.
mean, they're think, with DNA and stuff, you can carry on habits that way, but that's sort of the breakdown of everything. And that's why we like to talk about this, because we spend so much time on the egoic world.
Yes. Yes. And not only with the shiny things, people also have ego, false self-images sometimes of they're not good enough, or,
Oh,
they've
that's the same. Great
right.
point.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's all
Yeah.
that going on
Yeah.
inside.
Yep.
They're amazing talent, but afraid to show it, and that's ego holding them back. They're not being their true expression. And
Yeah. And
there's ego.
that's the other side of ego. It's kind of like an enlightened ego. There's a lot of those in the spiritual community,
Yeah, absolutely.
that want, to do good in the world, but they also want acknowledgement for it and want to be seen and get stuck on ideas. Like there's a lot of enlightened egos out there, especially people that study spirituality for a long time. Like you run into a lot of them. People are stuck in one way of
Mm-hmm.
looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
As long as because the ego wants to know things for sure,
Mm-hmm.
it wants to have control.
Mm-hmm.
It's an illusion of control. And awareness knows that it's all flowing like life. If is all movement, all flowing. And so, yeah, and the insecure, so there's the enlightened ego, and then there's the insecure ego too. If you're very attached to being, there's nothing wrong with being an introvert. Eddi's probably more introverted than I am, but there's nothing wrong with that. Introverts are beautiful, but if you turn that into like depression and self-sabotage and fear, like you get caught in your fears, that is a great point, Eddi. That's all ego as well. But we don't think about it ego, but it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're identified with the negative thoughts you have about yourself.
And then you've practiced it so much that even when you've moved it, because, I still, if I'm to audition for something, I still get my nervous system activated with, and I'm like going in, going, I got this, I know this. And it's still, there's that movement of old, it's just still old residue, but the awareness around it, when I feel something shift, I'm going, the awareness within me is like, okay, that's just some more little bits of ego falling away, it's just like little particles. And that's kind of what I tell myself is just let it go, because there's no more identifying with, I'm so nervous. Oh my God, I'm going to throw up,
And thinking you have no control over it because awareness trumps everything.
Yes. Yes. And even when that feeling comes in, say it's a low level anxiety, because I get a lot of patients who say that too, and it's beautiful work around ego, but we don't have, I don't know, we need more books on it. No, I'm kidding. We need more talks about it, because, when I say that to somebody in my office, oh, look at that little ego, and it startles them. Not everybody, because some have worked with me a long time, and it startles them for a second, and they're like, well, I'm not egotistical. I never said you were egotistical. I'm watching your personality in action, like it's just like a suit we put on until I want to change that suit. I don't want that cape. I want to shred this. And then we tap into, you can always have your personality, your true nature. Really, what is it that we want? You've said it over and over and over, and you have it, is inner peace. Right. And that's that authenticity that we seek. So our personalities always have that, but it's that activated ego that often messes with
What do
that.
you mean our personalities always have inner peace, you're saying?
No, our true nature has, the part of our true nature is inner peace.
Yes.
And within our personality, there is that gets activated, right? It's in there. But a lot of times, well, go ahead and explain it. I can see you now. Here she comes. Here she comes.
No, it's okay. It's all just words and distinction of words. So and because it's all interconnected, that's it's a hard, because to me, true nature and awareness are the basis of everything. Okay, and it's what's looking through our eyes. And then the personality is the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Yes. So to me, inner peace would not be, you can feel inner peace, but feelings and emotions come and go. Thought, anything that comes and go is not true nature. Yes. So what is looking through your eyes that never comes and goes is your awareness. That's where the inner peace is. And that's why peace is found in the present. It's always there. Even when you're in your most upset, inner peace is there. And that's what I experience now, even when I'm going through very difficult times, or there's a deep peace and there's an okayness with whatever emotion is happening.
Yes. Yes. That's what I was trying to say. Exactly. Exactly, Corrine. Word for word verbatim. Yes. The piece about the peace in personality is that it sits in there. It's like it's within that. Because in your personality, I know it's an expression, like someone would say, you've got such a great personality. So I'm just kind of landing peace in there because it lives in there. It's within. Yeah. Anyway, moving along.
I can't, in my world, I can't agree with that, but I honor that in your world that resonates with you and that's what you experience. Like, I get
Yes,
that. It's all
until
good.
it shifts and moves. And then I go, oh, okay, that's gone. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's how that settles in. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because the personality does come and go, right?
yes.
Your personality can shift and change and mellow and all that over the years. You can see my dad you know, who had a lot of anger in his life and he was kind of a martyr in his life. He also had amazing qualities too. He did mellow over the years. He did mellow over the years.
Hmm.
And
And it became part of his personality.
his personality changed. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And isn't it interesting? We start, you know, as we get older, getting closer and closer, and especially when we get into the last chapters of life, we see in our seniors, many of them show up with authenticity, but a lot don't, but many um, do. And sometimes it's in their last few years, and some get it sooner, and some don't ever get it.
Sometimes it's on their deathbed,
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't know because they could be drifted and still on the planet, but not. And we're like, I don't know what's going on there. So we don't
And
know.
ultimately it
A
doesn't
mystery.
matter. That's the thing
No,
is we want to focus on what we know for sure, which
hmm,
kind of isn't really much.
no,
The only thing, if tell me if you know of anything else you know for sure. But I'll tell you, the only thing that I know for sure is I exist right now in this present moment. That
hmm,
is the only thing
hmm.
I know absolutely for sure.
Yes, yes, I agree. And I exist right now in this moment. And the only thing I know for sure is that I'm drinking my water in my
Now, in
nice
this moment
mug
now.
in this
Hmm.
moment, right now.
Hmm.
Now.
That's a very pretty cup.
Thank you.
Hmm.
It's a potter here in Newfoundland. She's amazing.
Oh, you
Yes.
love your pottery.
It's beautiful down at the Craft Council. There's a little plug.
Mm.
Great
uh,
artisans. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Good conversation, and some nice, I don't know, practices. Tell me some nice practices for ego awareness, like self-reflection, mindfulness,
Yeah, I mean the three fingers
meditation. What?
pointing back. The three
Yeah,
fingers
that's a
pointing
good
back
one.
when you're focused on trying to figure out because this is what our mind does a lot because the mind is constantly looking for a comfortable place to land. So that's why it's running through scenarios. So if you're trying to figure out what somebody else is feeling or what somebody else is thinking or why somebody else is doing something, that's all ego. It's not truth. It's like a Disney movie running through your head, you know, that so you three fingers pointing back. So whenever you've got, a finger pointing at someone trying to figure out them, you look, how are you feeling? Okay,
Mhm.
so how am I feeling? What do I know for sure? Like that's a good question in every moment, any moment of the day is what do I know for sure right now? If you find your mind is spinning or you're worried about something, what do I know for sure right now? And what's the extra that I'm adding that's causing the pain and suffering? That's a good practice. And that's enough right there. I mean, we talk about meditation, we talk about yoga,
Mm-hmm.
we talk
Yep.
about mindfulness, but
Yep.
that is a good one right there. What do I know for sure? What's alive and true? What do I know for sure right now?
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's the most important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or
Yeah. Good.
a way, like a direct way to the truth of your true nature. Peace, which is peace,
Which lies beyond the ego.
which lies beyond the ego. Oh, my one of my
Ah,
friends taught me the difference between lies, Lies, and lies. Like if you lay down with somebody, if you lie down with somebody, it's spelled differently, right? And I
yes.
noticed when you sent me the topic, you did the Lies. What lies? Because the ego is a lie, just because it's
Mm-hmm.
ever moving, ever
Mm-hmm.
changing. It's
Wasn't
not
that
the
good?
truth.
Did you like that?
I got that. Did you get it when you sent it to me?
Well, yeah, I was a spelling bee gal, I'm edit eyes, I'm like,
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. And I love you.
Love you.
And I love doing this podcast. It's really fun.
Me too. It helps me think. And I love it when people share and follow and laugh with us and learn with us. And, I'm learning too. Sometimes, I might say something, you'll say something back, and my little ego gets poked for a minute, and then it's like quick.
All good. Yeah, we're all here learning every day. The only thing we know is we don't know anything for sure. That's a good one too.
Yes. I wonder what I look like without an ego. Just kidding. Have a
dead.
Great one.
Love you.
Love you.